Right, we're back. Coachcast. It's technically episode 7, even though the promo says episode 6, and we've got a fucking bodybuilding legend, mate, in the building. Simon Fan, Cy Fan. If you don't know who that is, you're fucking living under a rock, because the guy's been around the block. And he, to be fair, me and Cy have only started getting to know each other since December, when I moved, because I just recently moved to Birmingham, and Cy owns the gym that I train out of, which is Ultimate Fitness. But we're going to get fucking straight into this because Cy's been around, and we're going to try and cram that into an hour, which might prove difficult. But we'll start from the start. Cy, welcome for a start. Where did it all start?
Thanks for having me. Well, okay, where did it start? I've been training since I was 15, so 35 years.
I was going to say, how old are you now? You're 50?
I turned 50 last year. Big 50, yes, half a century. Yeah, so I started training when I was 15. I had an older brother, Steve, and he used to train in a place called Lichfield. I know you're aware of Lichfield because you're from there. A very small bodybuilding gym called Samson Delilah's, and this was talking like sort of mid-80s. And I was typical scrawny, skinny kid at school. Played rugby, played rugby for school, and my brother decided he took me to the gym just to sort of introduce me to weights and training to put some weight on. And within like 3 months, fell in love with it. And the guy who owned the gym, there's two brothers, Adam and Dean. They sort of took a shine to me. And it was during the summer holidays, 1989, I believe.
I wasn't even born.
They decided they asked if I just wanted to do a bodybuilding competition.
So it's 1989?
This is 1989, so I was 15, I think. Still at school.
You were doing a bodybuilding competition at 15?
Well, yeah.
Fuck.
My last year at school, and I said, why not? So I'd only been training 3 months prior. So I was quite muscular, but just very scrawny, lean. Didn't have any idea about nutrition, training, but I just trained, followed a few magazines, and did my first competition at Fleetwood, teenage class. I won that. Had no idea about posing. Obviously, there's no coaches back then. Took really well to it. I got qualified for the British finals that year. Later in the year, I got second in Harrogate in the teenage class out of like 20 people. So that's where it started from. It was a very, very small bodybuilding gym, very basic, no sort of hammer strength. Hammer strength wasn't invented back then. It was stuff you find in your garage at home. But the atmosphere was there, and it was owned by like a hardcore bodybuilder, which, at the time we didn't know any better. So great atmosphere, and he sort of guided me into sort of competing.
Yeah.
Then from then on, competed in various different federations back then, up until 1994 when I competed in the FBB, which is...
Is that the old IFBB?
The old UKBFF.
Right.
Before they introduced the fitness classes.
Yeah.
So I was still a junior at the time, and I went into the men's and won the under-80 British finals in Warrington that year. So that sort of introduced me to sort of the FBB scene. So I continued with the FBB and the UKBFF until 2011.
Jesus.
So I competed as a light heavyweight. I think I did about 10 British finals. Played my best place, and I've done probably top 5 in 3 British finals.
Yeah.
And I've done NABA Federation as well. Back then, you could compete both federations, NABA and UKBFF.
Yeah, you just do what you wanted.
Yeah. But so the NABA, I've done a few Arnold Classics abroad. I've done 10 British finals. WABA, I've done every federation. Bit of a whore, to be honest.
So when it was like 1994, and you went to that AFBB and stuff like that, and you were winning comps and stuff, were you getting like more and more well known? Because like obviously social media was not a thing.
Yeah, well
then.
that particular show when I won, that sort of solidified like me as a newcomer. Yeah. Because I competed in sort of natural federations before that. And there was no exposure for natural federation. It was like if you wanted to be known, you had to compete in the FBB to get your pro card. Yeah. That was the number one federation. So when I won that on my first attempt going into that federation, it sort of highlighted the fact I was a newcomer. I was still 20 years old, still wet behind the ears, and they thought they sort of think this guy's got a bit of a future. Yeah. So I've sort of that sort of gave me a bit of exposure. There was at the time there was a magazine called Muscle News. I don't know if you've heard of that.
No, I don't think I have,
Probably
no.
some of the older listeners would have heard Muscle News, owned by Alex McKenna, who owns the Beef now. So I ended up working for Muscle News back then. Me and my mate Gary, who Liam knows, Gary was the photographer, and we used to go around the world doing the Mr. Olympia, the Arnold Classics, Night of the Champions. We used to cover for all the shows.
Oh,
So
sick.
Gary was the photographer, and I used to go around doing all contest reports. So that's how I sort of got to go around the world and got to know a lot of the pros.
Yeah, because one of the things I was going to ask is, since speaking to Si and watching Si and talking to him, he fucking knows. Like, there's no one you don't know. Everyone knows you. So, like, did that all come from just going to all of the shows?
It definitely helped. I mean, working for the magazine, obviously you go to the same shows every year, then you're in the press pit, you get to go backstage, then you get to interview these people. And they obviously, me being Chinese as well, I sort of stand out a little bit. Yeah. So they sort of remember your face. And yeah, I think over the years, I've developed a relationship with these top professionals, and you see them exposed, and like you're on first name basis for people, everyone.
Yeah, which definitely helps.
Definitely, yeah.
I mean, I think you said it to me when I got to your gym, pretty much. You got a network.
Exactly, yeah. And I suppose the last couple of years, I've really took advantage of it, because having my gym, we've had everyone train Ultimate Fitness, and I've not really took advantage of it. And we'll talk about this later, but when I started doing YouTube now, I thought, you know what, I've got a bit of a platform here to sort of reach out to these people and maximise my network.
Yeah. But, okay, bit of a side question on that. Why do you want to do that? Because most people, 50 plus, they're going to stop doing what... Do you know what I mean? They're going to start winding it down. Whereas you're starting to realise now, right, I need to capitalise on this. Do you do it out of enjoyment?
One thing, I absolutely love doing it. I absolutely fucking love doing it. And, you know, I know all these people. I look at my my contacts list, and I know a fair few people. And I thought, you know what? I've got a relationship where I can call someone and go and train with Jay Cutler. I could go and call Phil Heath, Ronnie Coleman, people like that. I can go to the gym and train with them now. So why not capture it, you know, on camera for my own channel, just for people to see?
Yeah.
You know, why not? Just do it.
Yeah, sick. Okay, sick. So we kind of said on the way over here, we talk about fucking bodybuilding all fucking day long. And this is not really meant to be a bodybuilding podcast, whether it's like business or whatever and stuff like that. And obviously, your business is a big part of this, which goes hand in hand with bodybuilding.
Of course, yeah.
How did that all begin?
Okay, so we'll go back to when I won the British Championship. So Gary, he actually took photos of me prior to the British Championships, and we became. I think I was 19 at the time, just turned 19, and I was at college. I hated college. I was studying computer science. Fucking hated it. It was just a means to an end to please my parents. But I sort of knew the gym was something I wanted to get into.
Were your parents big on school and stuff like that?
Yeah, they just wanted to push my education. But so Gary was at the time. He was working for his mum. So we decided to open a gym together. So we opened our first gym in Leamington Spa called Excels. Okay. It's now called the Workout Mill.
Is that Decades gym?
Yeah, that's Richard's, yeah.
Right.
So it's changed a few hands every few years. But so we opened that in 95.
And you were 19, 20?
I was 20, yeah.
Fucking
I was
hell.
20, yeah.
So obviously, you said we can speak about anything on this. How much did that cost you to do back then?
You know what? I'd probably saved about, it wasn't, compared to nowadays, I think it cost us about 20 grand.
Right, okay. Which, to be fair, 1994, it's decent
It's
whack
a lot
of money.
Yeah, I sort of saved up money and borrowed. And I remember we went to an auction in up north somewhere, and we bought a load of cheap gym kit. and we just filled the gym full of like what we could at the time, the essentials. Got it repowder coated, painted, reupholstered, and it was usable. And back then, people didn't know any better. They weren't sport with like what's available now. Yeah, it was functionable, and it was good kit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you opened that one first. How long were you
95.
there for?
So I was there for 3 years.
Okay.
But I was from Lichfield originally, so I was sort of missing Lichfield, missing my mates at Lichfield. So there was an opportunity for me to go back to Lichfield, and I brought a gym there.
So did you sell that one? Or?
Yeah, I sold it my half to Gary.
Okay.
So my business partner at the time, and he took over that fully. And I went back to Lichfield for a few years, and I had a gym there.
What gym was that?
At the time, it's called Three Spires.
Okay.
Because Lichfield's got
Three Spires.
Three Spires,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And how long did that last?
7, 8 years.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. Then my training partner at the time, I used to train with Dorman. His name was Azam. He was best friends with Dorian Yates.
Right. Okay.
And so him and Dorian sort of fell out. And one day I had a phone call on my phone from Dorian.
Casual.
Very casual, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Right,
Dorian was a big idol of mine when I started training. He was like,
So, when you first met Dorian,
yeah.
where was he at, like, in his career at that
First time I'd ever met him was 1988. It was a seminar, Liberties nightclub, just Hagley Road, called Bertle Fox. So a lot of people won't know Bertle Fox, but he's a 80s bodybuilder who's recently got out of prison for double murder.
Nice.
But I was at a seminar. I think I was 15, 16 when I just started bodybuilding, and Dorian was in the audience behind me. He'd just won British Championships. He'd just got a pro card, and at the time he was in all the magazines, all the British magazines. So I sort of knew who he was. Obviously, too scared to ask for his picture. I actually did get a picture of him actually, but Dorian was like very calm, very quiet himself. He just sort of stayed in the background. And
Which is quite like you, to be fair. You're pretty quiet.
Yeah. I like to observe, and when you get to know me, I sort of open up a bit. But
yeah, I've definitely learned that from the first day.
Because there's a lot of people that just talk noise, you know what I mean? And it is noise.
Yeah, true.
So that was my first introduction to Dorian. But when I sort of met him properly, at the time there was a shop in town called the Weeder Shop, a supplement shop.
Yeah.
And so I walked in. I think I was 18. And Dorian was in there reading a magazine, Flex magazine, and he'd just won the Night of the Champions. This is 1991, and he was still tanned up, had his blonde mullet, and it was like, I was Dorian Yates. And I got chatting to him because I'd went to this show previously, and I'd filmed it on my camcorder. That's how long we're going back.
So basically, you were an Instagrammer. Yeah, before Instagram was even a thing. Yeah, that's well,
yeah. I've got pictures, like physical pictures from, going back 30 years of all the people I've met, all the competitions I've done, progress photos in the gym. I did that before we had obviously smartphones.
Yeah, mad.
So Dorian did a seminar at my gym, 2000 I think, just after he retired, a couple of years after he retired.
So this is in Lichfield, yeah?
Yeah, in Lichfield.
Yeah.
And Dorian was going through a bit of a phase himself. He sort of retired from bodybuilding, and he was sort of in his partying phase. So and he used to ask me, because where'd you go for a night out? I says, well, I used to go to Birmingham a lot, because I've got a younger brother who's a DJ, and at the time Birmingham was a great place for going clubbing. You'd have like Chuff Chuff, you have Money Pennies.
I've heard of Money Pennies.
Yeah. So my brother was the DJ for Money Pennies.
Oh, sick.
So because I'd like to come out on a night out with you, I thought, that's fucking pretty cool. So one night we went out, and obviously all the doormen knew Dorian Yates, and
I bet that was fucking mental, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I introduced him to a few. Can we talk about it? A few things.
Yeah.
And he never looked back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we travelled around the world partying, New York, Amsterdam, Thailand,
fucking hell,
Columbus, New Vegas, just on a roll for about 10 years partying together. And then obviously meeting Dorian, I got to know everyone, all the pros.
Right, okay.
People like Milos, Dennis James, Dexter Jackson. I went to Dennis James's wedding in Thailand. Me and Milos, Dexter, Sean Ray. There was like a whole host of us. And you just get to meet people.
Mad.
Yeah.
I bet that 10 years was pretty fucking intense.
Yeah, I went like that, yeah.
Shit. Jesus.
Because I was talking to, I had Victor Martinez on my podcast last couple of weeks ago, and I met Victor in New York going to New Year's Eve party with Dorian. And when I bumped into him at the Arnold a few weeks ago, I said, Victor, do you remember me? He goes, nah, where do I remember you from? And he goes, the Sound Factory in New York, 2002. And he goes, fucking hell, you're Dorian's mate. And then I obviously got to know him, then got him on my podcast.
That's fucking mad.
Yeah.
Mad. Right. Okay, so what... You had the gym in Lichfield. How did you then get into Birmingham? Because you've had two Ultimate Fitnesses, haven't you? Well, two locations.
Yes, two locations. So Dorian was he was at a stage where had his own supplement company, and
Did Dorian have a gym? Did he have Temple
yeah,
at
he
the
had Temple
time?
Gym. Yeah,
Okay.
so I'll go into this. He had that's where he was based for all his training for Mr. Olympia, British Championships. But sort of when he retired, he sort of let the gym sort of run into shit basically because he was never around, and he sort of lost interest
Yeah,
in
he was
training.
fucking partying with
He
you.
was partying with me, yeah. And he was going to close it. He was seriously going to close it. And at the time, he gave me the opportunity because do you want Temple Gym off me? Otherwise, I'm going to shut it. And I wanted to move out of Lichfield at the time. I thought, you know what, it's a good opportunity. So this was 2007. So I took over. 2007. It was he actually ran it into the ground. He had no one cared about the place, and he was never there. People were just helping themselves. No one was paying to train. So I completely revamped the system, made everyone start paying to train, spent money, bought new equipment, give the place a bit of refurb. Let's turn the business around, and it got busy. I started competing again because I had a few years off competing, and we got a lot of the members start competing. I brought in members from other gyms.
Yeah, sick.
Built a great little.
What
community.
year was this when you took over?
This
Temple?
was 2007.
Okay.
And Dorian was still there. He was still training at the time, but he was obviously not compared to what he was before.
You ain't got Leroy shouting at him.
Well, Leroy had stopped training before for 10 years. I think they sort of parted ways. But when I took over Temple Gym, I didn't know Leroy. I didn't knew of him. But Leroy he came down the gym because I want to start training again, but I want to train with you.
Sick.
I thought, that's pretty cool, you know. Obviously, who's not watched Blood and Guts, right?
Yeah.
So me and Leroy trained for about 5 or 6 years. Yeah.
Sick.
That was pretty cool, yeah.
So what happened after Temple? And while I've been listening to you, you've never worked for anyone.
I worked at Tesco's once
When
for a
was
few
that?
years. Yeah, I worked at Tesco's when I was at school.
But apart from that,
No, from 19, I still worked by myself.
so 30 plus years you've
Yeah,
worked
yeah,
for yourself.
yeah.
That's fucking sick.
Yeah,
That's class.
yeah.
And you know, it's clearly been successful. And I've always maintained, 'cause I've always wanted to do a gym, always. I don't think there's actually that many gyms out there that make good money. They all but nowadays it seems to be more of an upward trend.
There are a lot of good gyms now. I think social media's obviously helped highlighted everything. But yeah, I think if someone like you, I think you do really well because obviously you love the business. You know what works, what doesn't work. Whether it's going to make as much money as what you're making now, I don't know.
that you know,
But it is full on having a gym.
Yeah.
I mean, I absolutely love owning a gym. There's times where I hate it, where shit goes wrong and you feel like you just want to fuck it off. But 9 times out of 10, I absolutely love it.
Yeah. So how did Ultimate come about? You'd done Temple. That
Yeah.
was
So
2007.
I was at Temple for 6 years, and Temple Gym's in a basement. There's no natural lighting. It's literally in a basement, a small basement. It smells down there. There's so you're down there for 10, 12 hours a day, and it starts getting to you. So after 5 years, I was sort of getting the itch to sort of do my own thing because it was always going to be known as Dorian Yates' Temple Gym.
Yeah.
And even though I'd sort of took over,
I was gonna say, did you own a percentage of it?
I actually brought it off Dorian.
Right. Okay. So it was all yours.
Yes,
but
it was all mine. But
everyone knew
still,
it as Dorian's. Yeah.
And Dorian was still around, and I got to the point where I just wanted to do my own thing. And I think it was after the 6th year, I started looking for another premises. I thought I'll have that sort of blueprint, but make it like a more modern, cleaner environment where it would appeal to more people, but still have that hardcore element. So I found a unit which is not far from my current gym, and word got out to Dorian, and he wasn't happy.
Okay.
So he wasn't happy, and so we had we had a fight at the gym. Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve.
Yeah, Christmas Eve,
Fucking
and
hell.
so we had a fight, and he kicked me out of the gym, and so yeah, that was it. I took my shit and left, and 5 weeks later, I opened Ultimate Fitness.
5 weeks.
Yeah, because I'd already sort of I was sort of in an iron, but when he kicked me out, I thought, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna prove to you, I'm gonna take all your fucking members and close you down. I was on a mad one, on a mission to sort of it was like retribution.
How old were you at that point?
I think I was 35, 36.
Oh, okay.
But I knew because I
Not a mad
was
one.
running Temple Gym for 6 years. Everyone knew me. I brought people back to the gym. I brought Leroy back, and I knew probably I'd get 80% of the members within like that. So so when I opened Ultimate Fitness, it was literally 5 weeks. I left Christmas Eve, and I opened.
How the fuck did you manage that in 5 weeks?
I'd already had the premises. It's just, and I was already shopping around for equipment.
Yeah.
So I brought a job lot of life fitness stuff cheap, which was already in wasn't far away. So I brought all that, and whilst when I opened, I was still working in the gym. I just wanted to get people in so they wouldn't go to other gyms.
Yeah.
And I literally had 80% of the Temple members sort of join
Straight
my gym
away.
straight away. Yeah.
Sick.
Because of loyalty to me. Yeah.
So, how did the relationship with Dorian end after that?
Well,
Do you
we
still speak- you
never
speak now?
spoke. We never spoke for 8 years. We had a fallout, and I fucking hated him. I hated his guts. And at the time, he was having more exposure on YouTube and Instagram stuff like that. He was doing stuff for London Real.
Oh yeah.
And so every time I'd go on YouTube, I'd see his fucking face, and like it really pissed me off. And it would sort of fire me. It sort of give me more fire to sort of make my gym better. And for about 5 years straight, I was just obsessed with making my gym as good as it could.
Where do you think that comes from? That like that mentality of like.
It was like a do or die. I thought, I've got to prove a point. He's kicked me out of the gym. It was just I had to prove a point to myself that I can build a successful business in my own name.
And you've always been like, well, I was about to say, have you always been like that? But clearly, if you've worked for
I don't
yourself
want to lift
since
off the back
19.
of Temple Gym Dorian Yates. This is going to be a new business, new name, and a new start for me.
Yeah. So how long did that one last? Because
We were up in that 2013, and within 4 years, I sort of outgrew the place, and it was a great gym. I mean,
I've seen so many pictures.
Yeah.
Because I've never been to that one.
yeah, it was a great gym. We just outgrew it, and it's a lot smaller than where we are currently.
So what square? Do you remember what square
It's
footage
about
it was?
6,000 square foot. So it was just a different sort of layout, and but I remember the time I opened it, I was in good relations with Body Power at the time, the team from Body Power, people like Chris Geffin, and so when Body Power would come to Birmingham, I'd make sure all the athletes would train my gym.
Yeah, because I've always seen every time it's been about Body Power.
Yeah.
There's 2 gyms in Birmingham that get
Emporium,
absolutely fucking rammed.
yeah.
Emporium and
And
Ultimate.
yeah.
So when did Emporium come about?
Emporium came. They've been there for quite a while. Probably they moved the same year I moved, 2013, I think. But they were in a smaller unit further down Tyburn Road.
Right.
Because I used to train there every now and then, just for a change. But so Body Power, I'd make sure I would get everyone at my gym.
Yeah.
Most people would train Emporium and my gym, so we'd have the best of both.
Yeah. Sick.
Yeah, I mean the first year we opened, we had Branch Warren, we had Kai Green, we had Richie Gaspari, Ben Pekulski, Christian Guzman. We had everyone down there.
Yeah. Sick.
Everyone.
What and was there sort of like has there always been like a rivalry between your gym and their gym?
Probably, yeah. I would say yes, because not from my point of view, but you get people saying, "Oh, Emporium's better or Ultimate Fitness is better." At the end of the day, I make my gym better, as good as I can make it. I've got no control of what Emporium do.
Yeah.
Obviously, you get feedback of people, but I can do what I can control.
I tend to see from knowing you for the last 4 months that you're pretty fucking laid back. As in, so laid back, you're fucking horizontal.
Yeah.
Like, you just don't give a fuck. Which is exactly like me. Like, I don't think that's why me and you get on. Is I just don't care.
Do you know what? I mean, going off a tangent there, because 3 years ago this week, I was lying in a coma. I was almost dead. And when I sort of came round, it just changed my way of thinking. You know what? I'm going to not give a fuck about what people think anymore. I just do what I want to do.
So were you different before that?
Yeah, I used to probably a bit more sensitive to what people used to say and
Let things wind you up.
Yeah.
Dorian, I'm pissed
yeah,
off.
Yeah. And like it like be they've won. Do you know what I mean? They've got to me.
Yeah.
So now I really don't give a fuck about anything.
Yeah, which is it's the best way to be.
Yeah.
The less fucks you give,
It's like water with ducks back now.
yeah, the happier you'll be. I always say. So you just touched on that, and I have got it as a point to bring up, and I did ask if you'd be alright to talk about it. So, fucking COVID happened. And you were
Yeah,
the worst affected.
I was one of the first ones to sort of be put in the coma. Yeah, so scary time.
So this was 3 years ago. Yeah?
3 years ago now. Yeah. So leading up to it, I just thought, "Fucking, that's not going to happen to me." You know, it was in the news, but I was listening to, but it wasn't really paying too much attention.
I think like most people, to be fair.
Yeah, I thought it's never going to happen to me. So I was doing some work at the gym at the time, some maintenance work, and I remember I was just feeling like shit, feeling run down, and I never get ill. Very rarely do I get ill, and
even if you do, you just get on the hack squat.
yeah, I just
train through.
Yeah, I remember like I was progressively getting worse and worse to the point where I missed back day. Then
Unlike you, yeah.
yeah. Then I missed leg day. Yeah. Then when you missed leg day, because everyone was waiting for me, I thought, and I texted myself, "I'm fucked, mate. I'm gonna have to stay in bed." And I was taking loads of like paracetamol and Lemsip, and I was getting worse, and my breathing was getting really tight. Yeah, and I couldn't breathe. By the 10th day, I think I'd been in bed for a week, and I'd only had like 2 Weetabix for a week. I was in a massive fever. And I kept on ringing the 111, and they just told me to stay in bed. And the day I went to hospital, my friend Josh, he was working at the Good Hope Hospital in Sutton Coldfield, and he just happened to text me. He goes, "How are you feeling?" And I said, "Mate, I'm going to die today. I feel like I'm going to die because if I don't see someone." And he goes, "Come and see me now. Get your ass to the hospital." So I called an Uber, got myself to Good Hope, and rushed into A&E. And they did a scan of my lungs and did a SATs test. And you should be about between 99 to 100%. That's how much you absorb oxygen. And mine was sort of in the late 70s. And he says, if you go home now, you're going to die. So we need to.
Fucking hell, man.
You need to. We need to put you on a ventilator.
What's your reaction to that?
Well, first, I didn't know what a ventilator was. I thought it was just a breathing mask. So they were doing blood tests on me. I was in there for about 6 hours, and bear in mind that the whole country was in lockdown. So, and he said, "We're going to put you in a induced coma." I said, "What does that mean?" So we're going to put you to sleep for 2 weeks. And I thought, fuck, I said, the taxi's still outside. I'm going to pay for that. And so I ran my missus, yeah, and she goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "They're going to put me to sleep for 2 weeks." She goes, "What do you mean 2 weeks?" And I said, "I don't really know myself." I said,
God.
So I think I took a picture and put it on Instagram of me.
As you do.
Yeah. Because I had 6 hours and I was bored out of my head, and like they wouldn't let me out, and like had all these comments and people, and by the time they came to induce me, I had 6 people, and Josh goes, "Look, put your phone away now. We're going to put you under," and he goes, "Because you might not make it." He goes, "It's 80%, 20% against you." I said, "Don't tell me that." He goes, "So just to let you know, yeah." So
Jesus Christ.
Cut a long story short, I was in there for just over a month. Supposed to be 2 weeks, but I had complications. Had to resuscitate me 3 times because I stopped breathing.
Jesus Christ, man.
And yeah, so whilst I was in a coma, you still have you can still hear.
Yeah.
So the times they take to resuscitate me, I could hear them trying to wake me up. Trying to like,
God, man.
Yeah, so that was
You
horrible.
can remember that?
I remember every single.
Mate, that's fucking grim.
It's the worst. I'll say it's the worst experience I've ever had in my life. Yeah.
Worse than the fight with Dorian?
Yeah, that was nothing. And I had, and you have sort of post-traumatic stress after that.
I'm not
for about
surprised.
a year, I was having these mad dreams.
Shit, man.
Sort of flashbacks of me being in a coma, yeah.
Fucking hell, bruv.
It was like the whole.
I feel like having a cry.
It was like the last 30 years of my life wrapped into the worst nightmare. And you could feel, I felt like I was sort of sinking into death. That's the only way I could sort of describe it. You know, you're in outer space. You can't breathe. You've got no concept.
No control.
That's just how you feel, but you're dying at the same time. Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Because they put you on that many drugs to knock you out, to sedate you, take the pain away. Your head's all over the place. And
Jesus. So you woke up?
I woke up after a
And
month.
I remember seeing the pictures, bro.
Yeah.
And the transformation, bro. I mean, you looked dead on the first picture. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
You look, because I see you all the time.
Yeah.
Like, if you're watching this podcast, size fucking big. How much do you weigh now?
I'm only about 16 stone.
Yeah, but he's built like I mean, I've never seen calves like it for a start, which is fucking so annoying.
I was 17 stone when I went into hospital. And when I woke up, I was just over 11 stone.
Fuck.
So I lost like
6 stone in a month.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Fucking
another
hell.
week.
And how did that make you feel? I mean, I bet you're glad. You know, I'm glad to be alive, but I'm probably pissed off a little bit.
When I woke up, I mean, it took me a while to sort of come around, and I was still pretty much drugged up, and I wasn't allowed to eat solid food, so they're feeding me through a tube from my nose, which was fucking horrible. I wasn't even allowed to drink any water for like 2 weeks, so they were just feeding me, and I was like a vegetable in bed for 2 weeks. When I woke up, I was just sort of coming around to it, and just lying in the bed, not having any sort of, not be able to move, I didn't even have the strength to pull myself up from the bed, so I was just like a vegetable for 2 weeks, and
Jesus, man.
and I think after 2 weeks, once I was able to pull myself out and sit on a chair, I started my sort of rehab, just to sort of try and move my legs and stuff like that.
What were they telling you it was going to take a certain amount of time, or?
Yeah, they said between about 6 months before I could start walking again.
How long did you do it?
I probably, well, I'll tell you exactly how. By the time I got home, I was sort of walking around my garden, and I was a stubborn bastard. I thought every day I'm just going to be like, I'm in contest prep. I was doing everything I could. And gyms were shut at the time. So I remember going to the gym, just squatting the bar, the Olympic bar, 20 kilo.
Yeah.
And within 3 months, I was squatting 500 pound again, 5 plates.
What were the doctors saying? I bet they were like, what the fuck?
I had to go for a checkup. I think it was 3 months after I come out. And
How much weight did you put back on since in that
I was
3
back.
months?
I put on about 50 pound. Yeah.
I've seen it, Liam actually put up because I've seen the transformation picture. Put that picture up on the screen because it is fucking impressive.
So
man.
one of the tests was like a bleep test. You have to walk up the corridor and back, and that was one of the tests. And so obviously I was fucking running up and down like a madman because I was able to. Another test was to sort of can you sit on a chair and stand up again? I said, well, yeah, I was fucking squatting 500 pound the day before, so there's no problem. And I had to do a group test, and she was just amazed at my recovery. She goes, that's like,
It's insane.
because there was people that were in the test room that were from my ward that were just recovering. They weren't able to like walk a few steps without getting out.
But at the same time, if you'd been training for 30 years,
Obviously, it's
that's gonna,
yeah, of course, yeah.
like muscle memory is a real
Yes,
thing.
exactly.
Because there's not many people that can put on 50 pounds.
Obviously, it's muscle I already had. But when I got home the first day from hospital, and I remember like stripping myself down, I looked in the mirror, it was like I'd never trained in my life. It was like I was like so malnourished. I was like an Ethiopian.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
Doing the Mo Farah diet.
Yeah.
Don't eat.
Yeah, but I actually took pictures every day leading up to like, when I put my weight back, just for my own
Head.
recollection, yeah.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I feel like emotional after that.
I know, it was
That
an
is
emotional time.
fucking heavy.
And the time when I was in hospital, don't forget the whole country was locked down, so I wasn't allowed any visitors.
Any visitors, yeah.
No, nothing. No, my missus wasn't allowed to visit. No friends, family, nothing.
What was it like when you saw your missus?
She picked me up the day they let me out. It was emotional. Yeah, it was really good to see her. Yeah.
Fucking hell, bro. That's hit me, man.
That was the longest we'd ever been apart. Because obviously we got married recently before. Went on a honeymoon, and then fucking COVID happened.
Jesus.
And,
So this makes you think, because you said your kind of mentality changed a lot post this. You'll know Rick from Strom.
Yes. Yeah.
He had some heart complications last year,
yeah.
and it was fucking. And man, like he's my best mate. I felt fucking ill when he was telling me this. And post that, he's a fucking lunatic. He does not think for a second about doing something. If he wants to do something, goes and does it. Doesn't give a fuck what anyone thinks. And I know what he's like before. And he definitely used to fucking care a lot more.
Yeah.
And not pull the trigger on the things that he wants to do and stuff like that. And do you think that's been like a huge... Well, it's going to be a
100%.
pivotal moment.
Yeah, I
isn't it?
mean, I've always been sort of, worried about what people think, what they might say. But now I think I'll do what makes me happy, and coming that close to death, you literally got one chance in life. I know it sounds like cliche, but I might not be able to do these things later in life. So if I don't do them now, I don't be sitting on my deathbed thinking, I wish I would have gone gone to Texas. Wish I would have gone this. I'll just do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it does seem like that because you are here, there, fucking everywhere.
I try to be.
Yeah, since I've met you since December, you've been fucking 100 fucking places. And Si's coming to the gym, like, you want to go Sweden in 2 months for with gas? I'm like, fuck it. But I'm trying to think like you were thinking 30 years ago. Exposure.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? And
I think years ago, I was probably too quiet, too reserved to sort of do what I do now, because I was always like a fanboy of everyone, and like I'd be too scared to ask questions when I'm in a seminar. I'll be out at the back, but now, obviously, when I went to the Arnold, I just went up to people and started interviewing them, and yeah, I love it.
I love seeing it as well, mate, because I
puts people on the spot, but it's
you love it.
Yeah.
Proper fucking, that's fucking sick. Jesus Christ, man, I wasn't expecting that conversation. Jesus Christ. I've got a couple more things to bring up. I was scrolling your Instagram the other night to get a picture of you, and then I couldn't find what I really wanted, and then I was like, I'm gonna Google his name, and you're fucking everywhere, bro. So found an old competing picture, which actually I don't think it's that long ago. That one.
I last competed in 2015. Sorry,
2015. And who was that with?
Nabba.
Okay. So I was scrolling down, and there was a picture of you with Lisa Gelsey.
Lisa, yeah.
And JP.
Okay,
on a
PCA.
judging panel.
Yes.
For PCA. So what's the relationship there?
Do you want me to go? Okay.
If you want to talk about it.
Yeah, I'll talk about this. So I was a promoter for the IFBB. So I used to be Neil Hill. People know Neil Hill, Flex Lewis's prep coach. We put on two IFBB shows in UK. Because before then, the British Grand Prix was a pro show held by Kerry Kayes and Dorian. And the last one was 2005, I think, in Wembley. Jay Cutler won it. And from after that, because they didn't really make money, so they knocked it on the head. And at the time, Neil was planning on to bring the British Grand Prix back to UK. And him and Zach Khan, for the audience, Zach was 2009 British champion.
Was that big news back then? Zach was probably like one of the first bodybuilders when I was getting into it he was my background on my phone.
Yeah.
Because he's a fucking freak and I just loved it. And I met him for the first time, Fit Expo last year. It's the first time I ever met him. And I was like, bro, I used to have you as my background on my phone.
Well, me and Zach were like, we used to train together. He used to come from Sheffield and we used to train legs at Temple Gym every Friday.
I bet that was fucking savage.
Yeah. So
I see side training legs now. So I dread to think what it was like back then.
Zach up on legs because that's one body part he was sort of struggled with, and so I became good friends with Zach. So him and Neil decided to put on the British Grand Prix 2010 onwards, and Zach had after he won his pro card, he was doing some legs, not with me, and he tore both his quads and hack squat. Yeah. So me and Neil went to visit him the day after. I think it was like the week after, and he was in hospital. And at the time, like his career was over, and Neil said obviously Zach was out of action. Neil said to me, "Do you want to help me put on the British Grand Prix?" And I goes, "Yeah." So we took a year to sort of plan for the British Grand Prix. We had to change venues because there was sort of conflicts with body power. So originally we were going to have it in Birmingham, but we had to move to XL in London. So there's another guy called James Collier. I don't know if you've heard. He used to run Muscle Talk. So it was me, James, and Neil. We put onto the British Grand Prix. 2011, that was the London XL. We had Branch Warren winning the Open Men's. We had Flex Lewis win the 202 it was back then. John Hodgson, James Llewellyn in the Open classes, Rolly Winkler.
James Llewellyn competed this fucking weekend.
Yeah. So we put on 2 British Grand Prix. The next year was in Manchester. And what was the question again?
PCA.
Okay, yeah. So everyone's heard of Lee Priest, right? Yeah. So I was a promoter for the IFBB. So I was heavily involved with the UKBFF and IFBB. Used to go to all shows all around the world. And I decided to have a seminar with Lee Priest at my gym 2014 when I opened Ultimate Fitness. And Lee was a banned competitor from the IFBB. And
doesn't fucking surprise me.
Yeah, so he was banned. So when I'd already sort of promoted the seminar 3 months prior to it, and the day Lee landed from Australia. He got to my gym. I had a phone call from the UKBFF saying, "You can't have him at your gym. He's banned, and if you have him, then we're going to ban you from all the shows." And I thought, it's a seminar. It's got nothing to do with you guys. It's a private seminar, and that was it. They banned me from the IFBB, and there's a guy called Bill Tierney. He was the president of the IFBB, UKBFF, and so I got banned. Then after that, a lot of the promoters, they started. He was a bit of a control freak, Bill. Yeah. He started falling out with a lot of the other promoters. So people like Warren from Emporium left, Mike and Lisa, they left. Then we decided to, the year later, to put the PCA together. So that's when that was formed, 2015. Right. So it was me, Warren, Ryan, Mike and Lisa. Right. So we formed
I didn't realise it was fucking all of you.
Yeah. Because they were obviously all parts of the UKBFF. They were all pissed off with Bill. They'd all had enough. And so we obviously came together and formed a PCA.
Okay. Sick.
Yeah, 8 years ago.
So why did you come out of that?
I was there for 4 years judging. Went all around the world with them. Had a great time. Went to China. Went to Romania. I just wanted. It was full on every weekend, going to a different place.
I don't know how Ryan does it.
Yeah.
Because last year I had a guy prepping in Marbella, and he was there. Ryan was there for PCA Spain, and then there's a PCA show in England on the Sunday, and he's there. He's fucking mental. I've got him on the list of people to have on because I think from a work ethic standpoint, he's fucking mental.
I know Ryan's got Saxon Gym, but obviously it was the same sort of time that I'd started Ultimate Fitness and opened the new Ultimate Fitness, and I was working full time. I was building the gym. I just didn't have the time resource because Sunday was my only sort of day off, and to be travelling 10, 12 hours judging, it's the last thing I wanted to do. So I sort of took a step back from the judging and just concentrated more on my gym, which needed my attention at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't regret it. It was, I made a lot of good contacts. One of the guys that I trained ran deep. He won the overall 2017.
Yeah, sick, good times. Yeah, Ryan's he's killed it with that. I've heard that he's like to get where, and you have to be, huge control freak with it all. Yeah, really full on. Yeah. But I don't know how
Ryan had the vision from early on. He knew exactly he knew there was a gap in the market. Obviously, the UKBFF was sort of dying, and the only thing they had in their favour was the pro card.
Yes,
and obviously had NABA, which was run by OAPs, whatever.
Archaic.
So there was a gap in between. And Ryan's very great with social media. He's sort of very savvy, so he knew how to market the shows, how to promote the shows. And he sort of got the right key people in at the beginning to sort of develop the federation. Sick. And I think that's where it sort of took off.
Sick.
Yeah.
Cool. So to kind of get through to some of the last things. What's the plans for you now and Ultimate?
Plans? Well,
you should do a fucking master show, bro. Do a fucking comeback, man. If fucking Llewellyn can, bro, come on.
There is always a part of me that would, love to get back in shape. I mean, I still train like I'm going to compete.
Trains like a fucking nutcase.
I'm still very regimented. I still do my cardio every day. I still eat clean.
I see you eat the same meal every fucking day. Every time I'm in the gym.
It's just like
clockwork.
Yeah, it's like clockwork. I don't think about it. But yourself when you're competing, it's all or nothing with me. If I compete, everything goes to shit. The relationship goes to shit. Business goes to shit. Everything will go to shit. Yeah. And obviously, I've done 50 shows in 26 years. Jesus. I'm happy with what I've achieved in competing wise, and I'd rather shift that focus into the gym, into YouTube and stuff like that. Yeah. So I've got no sort of wish to go back on stage to compete because I know there'd probably be a bit more eyes on me because of who I am or whatever. And if I don't if I don't come at the top, then I'm going to look like a dickhead,
Yeah, true. So what's the plans for the gym?
The gym,
you've been buying some new equipment. And stuff like that.
This year's been our 10-year anniversary, so I thought I'd give it a bit of a facelift. Brought some new equipment in because there are a lot more gyms opening in Birmingham, and you can't get complacent. You've got to sort of keep up with the times. Always trying to get feedback off people and improve the gym, whether it's facilities, making the gym better anywhere I can.
Yeah, sick. And we didn't really touch on it. You know, when you moved from the 6,000 square foot place to where it is now, which is a big old fucking unit.
Yeah.
How much? What total is it? Like square foot?
I think it's about 12,000.
Yeah,
I
so
originally
doubled.
looked to where I am now before I had the Ultimate Fitness, but at the time there was no way I could have afforded to sort of renovate the place because we spent 6 months, a full work team, a day in working the new place. Yeah, it took a lot of money and took a lot of time. And
I was going to say, was it a big step up?
Yeah. And I didn't have the resources at the time, and so. Where the original Ultimate Fitness, it used to be a record shop. I literally just moved in and put a shower in there. Yeah. And it was ready to go. And built a counter.
Fuck.
Yeah.
But with this place, it's a bit.
Yeah, it was
a bit more
a
serious
complete
now.
renovation. Yeah, I mean, cost best parts like 300-400K just to do the renovations.
Jesus. Fuck. On that note as well, because some of the questions that I had come in from Instagram are gym related, obviously. What was the biggest challenge / learning curve of opening the gym? Don't open it with someone.
Opening the original Ultimate Fitness.
Any gym that you've done.
Biggest challenge. I would just say listening to people say, "Oh, don't do it. Why are you doing it for?" Listen to people that sort of negative comments. I think if you're going to do so, you just got to do it. You just got to believe in yourself and have a plan and just stick to it. Yeah. And just work on that. Yeah.
At the end of the day, these people aren't opening the gym. So what the fuck do they know?
There'll be a lot of people that'll tell you how to do something or how not to do something, but you just gotta just fucking go for it.
Yeah. And they're normally people that ain't done anything with their fucking life.
I mean, I opened the old Ultimate Fitness within 5 weeks of leaving Temple Gym. I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna go for it. What's the worst can happen? I can lose a shitload of money, but at least I've gave it a go.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
If you don't,
I knew with my contacts I could make it work.
Yeah. Sick. What should someone know before starting to think about opening a gym?
What should someone know? I think you should be able to go to a lot of different gyms, successful gyms, and just get a feel of what makes a good gym. The environment, the equipment, the people that work there, the staff. I mean, it's not just one thing; it's everything. So just get some key points, get some ideas from successful gyms.
Yeah, sick. This is from Josh. What's the best gym you've ever been to? And now I know you've been fucking everywhere, so this is probably top three off your head.
Gyms. God, that's. I know you're gonna hate this, but probably Binos Gym is.
Oh, one of the... Fuck off, man! Full of pricks.
Just full of pricks, but for equipment wise. I'd say Binos Gym, Oxygen Gym's a good gym, even though there's no atmosphere there.
Which gym?
Oxygen Gym.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a gym in, I'd say Destination in Texas, Dallas. That was a really great gym.
Yeah, I've heard that.
It had the atmosphere, had the equipment. Yeah, I've been to I think I've been to about 20 gyms worldwide in the last 2 years, so I've been spoiled with the gyms. Best. Yeah, I have got a bucket list of gyms I want to visit. And slowly they've been ticked off.
Sick. Right, a few quick fire ones. If there's one thing you could change about the industry, what would it be? See, you're old school, and we always have the tripod discussion in the gym anyway.
You know what? I didn't hate it. I understood it, and looking from a business point of view, it's great for the gym. People advertising my gym, promoting my gym, for free. And I used to be like of that sort of attitude, but now I embrace it.
You're the one fucking doing it.
Exactly, yeah.
Half the time now, which is. But this is the thing. It's like you've adapted.
You've got to adapt
time.
and move on, evolve. I mean, I know there's bodybuilders in my generation they ban tripods, but I said you're still living in. You're probably still playing cassettes at the gym like AC/DC. Do you know what I mean? And that's why your business hasn't evolved, and you've got to move with the times. You've got to move what's current and give the people what they want.
Yeah. So if there is one thing you could change, what would it be?
All right, back to the question.
Tangent, sorry.
You know what? I wouldn't change anything. I think I'm happy the way everything's going. It's all leading to gyms are busier more than ever now. It's bringing more people into training. Yeah, I can't think of anything negative.
Yeah, this is. I just feel like why can't people just be happy?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, there's so many people into fitness, and if they've got no muscle, okay, and they're still fucking filming their sets and stuff like that.
It's down to them, innit?
It's down to them. It's not affecting you.
No.
And at the end of the day, if a gym owner's got a problem with it, they're a fucking sad cunt.
Exactly, yeah. I welcome people with cameras in my gym because, I'm doing it myself, and I don't want to be a hypocrite. Because when I go to other gyms around the world, I'm doing the same thing. So I can't be a dickhead and say no tripods and no cameras.
It's stupid.
It took me a while to sort of, since I've been the YouTube stuff, to get into that. But it's I understand it, and there is an audience for it.
Yeah, exactly. If you could go back to the start, would you do anything differently?
Regarding opening gyms and stuff? No, I don't think I would. No.
Every person I've asked on this podcast has said the same thing. No, I wouldn't change anything.
Because it's led me to where I am now.
Yeah, it's led you where I'm now, and you seem pretty fucking happy about it.
You know what? You make mistakes, but you learn from them. No path is ever straightforward, is it? I've fucked up many times. I've made some huge mistakes, but it's all a big learning curve to bring me to where I am now. Yeah. So, I'm in a good place.
Good. So I always just ask this as the last one. It's time to get a bit deep. So you've obviously been successful at what you've done. Opened multiple gyms. They've all been successful. None of them are closed because they did shit. And you've had a pretty fucking hectic, mad life. 10 years out fucking with Dorian. I can imagine that's fucking aged you probably about 20 years. What's the cost been to you as like a person? Like relationships or what? Like
the cost of like me being involved in the sport that much. I would say it has cost. You mean relationships with like partners?
Everything.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, when you are competing, I used to be full on 100%, and like relationships would sort of they'd be second, they'd be further down the line, and I'd always give prepping for a show be all out. I mean, it'd be like because Dorian was such a big influence on me. I sort of pictured how we would train for Mr. Olympia, so I thought that's the mindset I've got to get when I compete. It'd be like I'd be like a monk, and obviously relationships fail. They sort of fall to the wayside. Businesses fall, so things you do have to sort of sacrifice a lot of shit for it.
Yeah, it's been worth it though.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I've learned to sort of be laid back the last few years. Yeah, so I was, being competing, you sort of everything has to be sort of in place, rigid. Yeah, and
high stress.
And I've learned the more I relax, the better things are for me.
Yeah,
I don't stress about missing a meal. Miss a meal today, I don't care.
And I kind of do want to preach that because I'm a lot more fucking relaxed than I used to be, and I used to be that I can't be a minute late for a meal, else I'm going to be pissed off and stuff like that. Nothing fucking changes. Like, exactly, relax. And that
you're not going to worry about this next year, are you?
Yeah, that stress that you're putting yourself under from missing it is going to affect you more than actually missing the meal. Of course. And I think everyone who's listening to this can probably learn from that. Si's fucking been there, fucking worn the t-shirt fucking 100 times, and he ain't fucking stressed about it. Granted, you're at a different point of your life now, and stuff like that. But if you went back, do you think in the competing days, do you think if you were less stressed about it, you would have done better? Or you maybe would have enjoyed it more?
Stress is a good. It's like pressure, isn't it?
I think of course.
Pressure is good. But looking back at it now, I think obviously I wouldn't miss meals, but if I was half an hour late, I probably wouldn't, smash the house up and kick the car in and stuff like that. Have roid rage in the supermarket.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's one of the costs, bro. Fucking. Yeah,
I remember one day. This was before I had Ultimate Fitness, but it's quite ironic because my girlfriend at the time, we were driving and we got stuck in traffic right by the island by the gym, and I'd missed. I was like 5 minutes late for my meal, and so I got to stop the car in the middle of the traffic, and I got out the car. I got to the boot, opened my Tupperware with chicken rice. I got back in the car, and there's fucking mile of traffic, and I started eating. I thought, I can't miss this meal.
Just so you know, the island from the gym is fucking 200 metres, so a couple of minutes. But yeah,
that's how
that doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me though, bro, because I can see your fucking mentality. I think to be fair, that's gonna wrap it up. We've been nearly an hour, I think.
That's gone quick.
Yeah, it fucking has. It's difficult to get 35 years into this, and mate, we could probably do a fucking part 2 at some point. Because when you were speaking, I was like, I want to ask you that. I want to ask you that.
There's so much we've not even talked about. We've not talked about God.
Have you spoke about the COVID experience on a podcast before?
Yeah, I had Kerry Sexton on a podcast a few years ago when I first. Yeah, I had like the BBC. I had to do an interview for the BBC. The day after I come out of hospital, I did an interview for BBC Breakfast. Jesus. Literally the day after. I could hardly speak at the time, but I had to do that. I was invited to go on Good Morning Britain with peers at the time.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Have you had any like side effects like from that? Like
only the post-traumatic stress thing, sort of the mental side.
But you've not had any like.
I had sort of the breathing didn't come back to about 3 or 4 months after I came out of hospital because I was still sort of struggling to breathe for a while. But probably about 3 months after, regular exercise, it sort of got a lot better.
Yeah. Jesus. I'm going to end at one last one. If there's advice you could give anyone now coming up in the industry, young lad,
into
20,
competing and stuff.
Yeah, well, not even just in the industry.
Yeah.
What advice would you give them?
That's a good one. Because there's so much information out there. Just do your research, find a reputable coach, but enjoy the process and don't rush things because you got social media now. There's so much pressure to look a certain way. So and so's competing, but just enjoy the process and don't get caught up with what everyone else is doing. Yeah.
You can only do so much with your own fucking body.
Exactly.
And if it don't want to look like fucking Mark Hector,
exactly,
you ain't ever going to look like him.
Some of these guys, they've been training 10, 15 years. They're taking whatever. So you can't compare yourself to someone who's been training that long. Just stay in your own lane and concentrate on yourself.
Sick. Right, we're gonna wrap it up there. Thanks for coming on, bro.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
And we're gonna get some footage in Sweden.
Oh yes.
For sure.
Me
and you like Dorian back in the day, mate.
Yeah.
That was me drinking, not sucking Dorian off there. But yeah, we've got a lot of YouTube stuff coming up. I think we'll probably do a few things
Yes,
together.
definitely, yes.
Sai's big on YouTube now and has been doing it. You've been making a bit of a comeback on that, haven't you? So follow Sai on there. I think is it just Sai Fan?
Yes, Simon Fan, yeah.
Simon Fan on YouTube, so give that a follow.
Yeah, I've got my own podcast as well, so bit of a plug. So so I've been running that since June last year, and that's been I've enjoyed doing that.
Sick.
Yeah, I've had some good guests on there.
Yeah, and follow that as well.
Yeah.
Right, thanks everyone.
Pleasure.